Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, January 10th, 2020.
Commissioner Villegas, Garcia, James, and Caloza are present. President James, you do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Nick Berrigan, Street Services, Street Soleil.
Good morning, Eddie Chavez, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Crystal Lee, Bureau of Engineering.
Sherry Kuroki, LA Sanitation.
George Espindola, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we did receive one speaker card under General Public Comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive speaker cards on items number 1, 2, 4, 7, and 10 as well.
Does anybody else feel like Barbara Walters when you say this is 2020? For some reason, I feel like Barbara Walters every time I do that. We'll start with Dr. Tom Williams on General Public Comment. You have something to do with the University of Texas, sir?
Hey, we almost have finished 710.
Almost.
So, T for Tom.
Okay.
Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community, Public Works. Thank you for the large amount of mulch at the Mulch Compost Center on Mission Road. I think it will last maybe till Sunday afternoon. So we do a lot, and we're trying to do a lot more, but I say you need to have better advertising for the benefits of mulch from the city. So that's number one. But for 710, there is a possible agenda item next week. Council File 191566, which is about how Phase 2 funds are going to be assigned. Eagle Rock has never been involved in the 710 opposition. However, we have a current problem of the T1 connector road from Valley to Alhambra Avenue, or as Caltrans says, to Mission Road. Well, it doesn't go to Mission Road. It stays all within the city of Los Angeles because Alhambra doesn't want to lose any of their pavement. So we oppose, and there will be a CIS from LA 32 Neighborhood Council regarding opposition to T1 as part of the 710 TSM, TDM Phase 2 projects. We don't want it. We've stopped it since the year 2000 when it was first proposed, and it's a waste of money, and especially since Caltrans apparently has not consulted with Union Pacific Railroad, because the railroad that they want to elevate by 20 feet is the main line railroad to the central United States from the ports of LA and Long Beach. So
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Next week. Thank you.
Thank you. With no other cards for general public comment, I'll close general public comment. Agenda item number 8 is an administrative item. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of Streets LA to execute the proposed contracts with American Reclamation Incorporated, California Waste Services LLC, Crown Recycling Services LLC, Recycled Aggregate Materials Company Incorporated, and USA Waste of California, doing business as Waste Management, for recycling and or disposal of the stated various debris materials. Is there a second to my motion that we approve agenda item number 8 forthwith by Commissioner Garcia? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 7 is an authority for expenditure for Pacoima Beautiful. Sanitation and the Office of the County are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $74,650 to continue sanitation's educational program at Lopez Canyon Environmental Center and at the South Los Angeles wetlands. Workshops are intended to promote the use of mulch and compost in urban gardening, as well as educate participants on the added benefit of water conservation, and the fund source is listed as well. Dr. Williams, you have a card in on number 7. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. Ms. Flores, hi.
Good morning. Good morning, Bureau representatives, board members, City Attorney and Executive Officer. My name is Tanya Flores. I'll be representing LA Sands Solid Resources Processing and Construction Division. I'm here to request authority for expenditure for our urban gardening and water conservation program with the nonprofit org Pacoima Beautiful. With the help of Pacoima Beautiful, we've been able to increase the public's interest and participation in the following topics, such as container gardens, California native and friendly plants, pollinator gardens, water harvesting and management, and these are only a few topics of the courses available to the public. These courses are offered once a month, and we have received very positive feedback from the community. We have a high interest and attendance rate. The Lopez Canyon course is offered every fourth Saturday of the month, and we have approximately 120 attendees, while the LA Wetlands course is every second Saturday of the month, and we have approximately 50 to 60 attendees a month. So for said reasons, we would like to continue this program and execute this agreement for $74,650 to fund a full year of these public courses. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions. Dr. Williams, you have a card on number 7.
Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community, also a director on the LA 32 Neighborhood Council Board. We would like to have you amend this to maybe raise it to $100,000 for outreach, because none of the neighborhood councils seem to know about this program. And since it deals with mulch, I love mulch, love compost. I tell people the differences. You need more outreach and more physical flyers and online presence. So basically, give them some more money and tell them to get online, get a subscription, so that, and coordinate with Dunn. You got 99 neighborhood councils, and very few of them know about this program. So great for mulch, great for wetlands, and by the way, don't put wetlands into Taylor Yard or future piggyback yard, because those are the railroads dumping pits. So don't put a wetland on a contaminated soil. But the basic element is mulch is good. Mulch is a win-win-win. Everybody wins on it. So keep it in LA. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Just FYI, I spent 2 hours last night on my feet answering questions at the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. They had very good questions last night. Filled 2 hours with me. Happy to be there. Ms. Flores, could I ask you a question? Regarding the request for outreach and additional money for outreach, I have no problem doing that. Although I want to move today's along because you've asked us to. But thoughts on outreach and what you heard just a moment ago, and does some of the money that you have allow you to spend some funds on outreach, or is that something that needs to come up subsequently?
At 10 grand. So currently for outreach, we have $6,358 spent. So we could possibly increase that in the future, just to get the word out there.
Hey, you might talk to your team about the recommendation from Dr. Williams, working with Dunn and with the neighborhood councils. That's, and I mean this in a complimentary way, it's a captive audience for work that, you know, they're easy to reach through emails. We're in regular contact with them, and it might be a nice way to do some additional outreach that is not expensive. But if you need an additional authority for expenditure for more, it's something we would certainly entertain.
Thank you. That's a great recommendation to me.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you for your presentation and for the conversation. I too agree that more outreach would be nice in increasing the program. I have seen it grown from since I've been here. It started at Lopez Canyon with maybe few participants, and now we're up to 120 in Lopez Canyon. Then it moved to wetlands, and now we're at Griffith Park as well.
Correct.
So, I fully support this program because I've seen it grow. I see the benefits that the community takes out of it. And just so you know, the trainer was here yesterday, and he was talking to us about how he did a pie type of workshop out in Lopez Canyon, where he taught people how to make pie out of fruit that they've grown themselves. And so I thought that was very nice of how he's putting everything together and bringing the school in, and gave out pie as well, done with farm to table type of fruit. So it's really nice. It's urban composting, but there's so much more elements to it. And I know that he also brings in the rain barrel conversation. So I really like this program, and we have it in 3 sections. Maybe we can also, in addition to outreach, extend another site, just putting it out there. And I fully support this. So my motion is to pass this.
Okay, thank you. I'll second your motion, Commissioner Garcia. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Any issue sending 7 forthwith? We will send number 7 forthwith. That takes us to agenda item number 1, which is from the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 11. A budget increase in a revised task order solicitation number 121 to AECom Technical Services. This is for the Venice Street Maintenance Yard. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revision to TOS 00121 to AECom Technical Services, increasing the budget authority from $440,000 to $580,000, which is a $140,000 increase for continued soil remediation and groundwater monitoring and related services. Dr. Williams, you have a card in on number 1? Number 1. That's the task order to AECom for Venice Street Maintenance Yard.
Actually, I'll give it for 1 and 2. But Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, CCSC, Sierra Club, and a few others. But anyway, basic, real time, we are working on Thatcher Yard in Venice. And we have had huge numbers of problems getting finally affordable housing approved on the site. However, it's a public works site. It was contaminated, and the reports are almost absurd. We have an identified oil well on the site, but nobody has found it. So I say, make sure that these projects where you may have an underground storage tank have adequate ground penetrating radar and a magnetic survey to see if there's any underground tanks, wells, or otherwise. But also make sure that the documents are readily available to the public. And Thatcher Way is a real problem, and it's going to be a huge nightmare as far as change orders. We had a similar situation with the Red Line Phase 1 downtown. And might say structure and environmental controls, me, vied for who had the highest number of change orders, and we had 39 underground storage tank removals without any estimate as to the cost in the contracts. So we had real problems with that. But ground penetrating radar these days, magnetic surveys, and there's also, if you go to city planning, there's a company called EDR.
2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. You can pick up the rest on agenda item number 2. Mr. Mulhern, on number 1.
Good morning. I'm Mike Mulhern with the Geotechnical Division of Bureau of Engineering. As you mentioned, we'd like to increase the budget this year, $140,000 for continued bio-venting remediation. It's a relatively inexpensive, however, a very effective method. We also have associated waste removals under proper protocol, and most importantly, reporting to the State Regional Water Quality Control Board. We also include operation and maintenance of the unit, periodic sampling of the effluent, a respiratory test this year to see how well we're doing, because we're possibly approaching case closure on this site, possibly this year, maybe next year. And otherwise, there's no controversy. We don't know of any oil wells. Also, our maybe Weeby and other participation levels are just slightly below our goal, but once we start doing this respiration and confirmation testing, we'll be able to use drilling and laboratory services that will increase those.
So, Mr. Mulhern, you've attached as transmittal number 1 the December 17, 2018 request for an increase for continued soil remediation and groundwater monitoring and related services from 200 to 440. Now we're going from 440 to 580. Continuing process on this, or is this one the last one?
I can never guarantee that it'll be the last, but as I say, we're getting very close. I think we've removed about 95% of the contaminants, and this confirmation testing will tell the story later on in the year.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President James. This is along the lines with President James. Do we find that, are we going to get to an end of this eventually? It's almost the same question, but I wanted to reiterate that, because this is supposed to be, what is it called?
Yeah, we're only given 1 year at a time budget from the CEO.
You tell us that every year.
Yeah.
I wish I could ask for 3 or 4 years and save us all some time, but that's just the way it is. And again, we have there's 2 major unknowns: what the ground will respond to our remediation methods. In other words, how effective the contaminants can be picked up, and that depends on a lot of factors. And also it depends on the regulatory agencies. Sometimes we submit a request and they say, fine, we're giving case closure. Otherwise, they want another year or 2. It just depends on the individual and the luck of the draw, really. So I think it'll only be another year or 2 on both these sites that I'm talking about today.
Okay. A year or 2, hopefully. Thank you.
Can't guarantee, though.
Thank you, sir. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. Thank you. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue sending 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. That takes us to number 2, similar but in Council District 8, budget increase and revised task order solicitation number 0016 for AECOM Technical Services Southwest Street Maintenance Yard, and it's actually 00-016. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revision to TOS 00-016 to AECOM Technical Services, increasing the budget authority from $625,000 to $925,000, thus your $300,000 increase for continued groundwater remediation, groundwater monitoring, and related services. Dr. Williams, you were mid-sentence maybe? You're done? Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Mr. Mulhern?
This site has both groundwater and soil contamination, so we're using what's known as a multi-phase unit. We're basically bringing the groundwater level down, running it through a series of filters, and taking it to a proper water recycling facility. And we're also applying a vacuum to the soil and removing residual hydrocarbons and sending that through activated carbon canisters and then venting through an AQMD permit. It's one of our more complicated sites, and it's complicated, first of all, by the number of tanks, the types of contaminants, and also there's a residential area just behind it. So we acted quickly on this so that the contaminants can't move into the residences. And part of that is a semi-annual, what's called a site conceptual model. It's a large computerized report that we have to have done twice a year to show the movement of the contaminants, particularly the oxygenates that came from the gasoline, the MTBE, and so on. So that's part of the cost. This is an expensive document to produce. So that's part of the increase of the cost, as well as the maintenance of the system and groundwater extraction, and also the reporting that we have to do to the state.
Sir, how far along are you on this one? I know 95% on the last one on agenda item number 1. How far are you on this one?
This is probably in the low 90s, so I anticipate another 2 years possibly on this one.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll make a motion to adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, sir. Have a nice weekend. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We we'll send number 2 forthwith. Agenda item number 3, contract amendment number 1, Electronic Recyclers International. This is from Sanitation and Contract Administration, recommending that the board approve and forward the report with transmittals to the mayor and city council with the request that the Board of Public Works be authorized to execute amendment number 1 to the personal services contract between the City of Los Angeles and Electronic Recyclers International Incorporated for the collection and recycling of electronic waste. The cost contingency cap remains unchanged at $500,000. Ms. Lozano.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Yasi Lozano with LA Sanitation Solid Resources Citywide Recycling Division. I'm here today to request approval to amend this contract with Electronic Recyclers International for the collection, transportation, and processing of electronic material for the city. This is a revenue-generating contract, and we are introducing a new credit rate into the contract due to the shift in material that we are collecting.
Any questions regarding agenda item number 3? One moment. I thought I had a question on this. Commissioner Caloza is going to buy me some time. Thank you.
Thanks, President James. Can you just explain for the board and also just for the general public the ways in which this contract is utilized at LA San, and what are the programs attached to this contract?
Sure. So ERI collects electronic waste from our permanent facilities, our household hazardous waste facilities that not only collect household hazardous materials, but also electronic material, your computers, your some home appliances, cell phones, those sorts of material. And we also host about 20 mobile collection events that also collect this type of material. So ERI provides the staffing, the truck, and they actually have a facility in Fresno that all this material is shipped to and processed. So that is to the extent of our contract.
But you guys also have safe centers, right? I know that's
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? And especially, I know Dr. Williams is here, might be helpful.
Sure. We have 7 permanent facilities throughout the city of Los Angeles, open every weekend, Saturday, Sundays from 9 to 3 p.m. And we collect household products, household cleaning products, medications, syringes, electronic material, and it's a free service for all LA County and LA City residents. And it's a drive-through, so it's very easy. You pack everything in your trunk, drive through, we pick everything up, and that's it.
And then last question for me, I know the amount for this contract is unchanged, right? It's at $500,000. Have you guys seen a trend in terms of what kinds of things they're collecting in terms of the e-waste? Are you seeing like more televisions, more sorts of e-waste than others? It would be helpful to understand the trends in terms of why this contract amount hasn't fluctuated, given that we have other issues related to this around our illegal dumping and other collection issues that we have.
Sure. So this is a revenue-generating contract, so that's why the contract ceiling remains unchanged. That's in any case that we don't end up collecting any material, which is very unlikely. We are seeing a decline in the big chunky CRT TVs, the big older TVs. So, and that's transitioning to the flat panel LCD, plasma, those sorts of screens. So that's why we have a new rate now to pay, basically collect revenue for those types of material. So it's not a huge decline in this material. It's just something that's emerging that we want to be covered for in our contract.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
So I have another version of this. I mean, I have another copy. I can't recall what my question was.
Okay.
But I had, and so maybe I'll email you
Okay,
when I find it. It wasn't anything critical, but I made some notes and I can't find them. So I did want to point out for the record that this one is, it says the April 19th was the first of 2 3-year renewal options.
Yes.
So is that where we are in the timeline?
So we have renewed. We've
Yep.
exercised the first renewal option, and then this is just the amendment of the contract, and then we are going to renew when the time comes.
Okay, and we anticipate that we will use up all the options.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you for the time, Commissioner Closa. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending it forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. For some reason I have multiple copies here. Okay. Agenda item number 4, request for proposals, processing, and marketing of blue bin materials collection. This is sanitation and contract administration. Recommending that the board authorize the director of sanitation to distribute and advertise the transmitted RFP for the processing and marketing of residential blue bin materials collected from the City of Los Angeles waste sheds. And secondly, evaluate proposals and select the most qualified proposers based on, and that can be more than one, based on established rating evaluation criteria for each of the waste sheds separately. And third, negotiate contracts with the most qualified proposer or proposers in each watershed. And finally, direct the Bureau of Sanitation, the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or his designee, to return to the Board of Public Works for authority to award and execute the contracts for each watershed. Dr. Williams on number 4.
I forgot one thing. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council Citizens Coalition Sierra Club. Why am I involved in this? Because I remember crushing cans, taking labels off in 1944. And I say the first thing is, nobody in the real world out there knows what you need. i.e., you need to have more outreach, some flyers as to how to upgrade the quality of the recyclable materials. If you don't get the right mix coming in, no matter what you do in the processing, it's either very expensive or it gets rejected and goes to the black barrel. I know because we virtually don't have a black barrel use anymore, and we use it for stormwater runoff. So it's a matter as to get a flyer out, to the 99 neighborhood councils, each one of which has usually an environmental green committee, which I'm on in LA 32 Neighborhood Council, so that we can give you a better product to recycle. Because labels, foodstuffs, contamination, bottles versus, hey, how about compacting all that aluminum foil into single units? There's a whole bunch of things that can be done, and people are willing to do it. I crushed cans for at least 2 years that I know. My grandfather gave me a sledgehammer, and I got to beat all those cans up. So there's a basic element. More outreach equals better quality material coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Potter, and I understand we have a recommended amendment regarding subject to mayor and council approval when we get to the motion part. Go ahead, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners Garcia, Caloza, Villegas, and City Attorney and Bureau Representatives and Executive Officer. I'm Robert Potter, Division Manager for the Solid Resource Support Service Division with LA Sand and Environment. LA Sand is requesting the authorization to distribute an RFP and select and negotiate contracts for the processing and marketing of residential blue bin materials collected from the City of Los Angeles. The City of Los Angeles collects approximately 800 tons per day of residential blue bin materials from approximately 750,000 single-family homes and small apartment complexes or households of 4 units or less, and also from city facilities. As we all know and are all too aware, the ability to move recovered materials was impacted globally by importation bans and the decrease in market value for these materials. Material recovery facilities used to be able to share profits with the city. However, today the cost to process the materials outweighs the revenue. Today, LA Sand is paying approximately $75 per ton to process blue bin materials. The city does not operate any recycling facilities and thus has to contract out these services. LA Sand contracts with CR&R and Athens Services currently for these services through a letter of agreement. Long-term agreements with CR&R and City Fibers have been terminated because those agreements did not allow for payment to the contractor and were no longer sustainable in the current market conditions. The city is therefore soliciting this RFP to fulfill the city's needs for blue bin processing and marketing services. The services may include, but be not limited to, receiving materials at a facility or designated transfer station for processing, separation, recovery, and baling, marketing and shipping of commodities. We are encouraging the expansion of the North American markets and domestic and local markets for these materials. Any alternative or unique solution is also encouraged. Providing contingency service, which are a must to ensure that we can maintain uninterrupted services to our residents. A proposal may be for the complete or partial amount of the blue bin material and for one or more waste shed. Facilities must be fully permitted and accept the material as well as comply with the city's facility certification plan as approved by the board and operated according to all applicable laws. The proposal terms for this contract is 5 years with 2 5-year renewals, options for a potential of a 15-year contract. The RFP will comply with all city requirements, including that for the BIP and local business preference program. After evaluation and negotiation with the selected proposers, we will return to the board for approval to award and execute the negotiated contracts. The program is expected to be funded through the Solid Waste Resource Revenue Fund and will not have no impact on the general fund. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Potter. We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, President. Just a few questions for clarification. How many, through this RFP process, how many businesses do you intend on using?
We're going to put an RFP out. Yeah. We'll receive bids from as many as are available.
I understand that. And I'm sorry for not making my question more clear. From all the bids that you do receive, how many will you award? Are you looking for one firm, or are you looking for multiple businesses to do this work?
So it could be one firm, or it could be up to 6 firms, depending on the bids and their locations of their services. So geographically, we have 6 waste sheds within the city.
I see that.
Yeah. So we can get bidders in each waste shed, and they're all different. We would negotiate with all 6 of them because the transportation is easier and it reduces traffic and everything else. But we also got to look at the cost and the associated at the end.
I was just asking because it seems like we have 2 right now.
Currently, the market with the changes, the national SOAR and the green fence and a lot of stuff that came out of China, a lot of the recyclers that we had that we dealt with have actually closed their doors. So the market and the number of vendors is really limited right now.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you think it's possible for us to see any material for education that once these businesses are selected that they'll be issuing to the public?
So yes.
Any kind of materials that they're going to either be, giving out to the public when they're obviously going to be collecting the recyclables, right? All this material, but sometimes it's not in the format that they would like to receive it. Like maybe it's dirty or it's contaminated. So is there any kind of material I'm probably going a step further, but I was asking if we can see that information.
Yeah, and it's a great question. So a problem within recycling programs is always contamination. So this bid is for the processors. So our city vehicles will collect the recycling from the curbside and deliver that to a facility. This facility will be receiving it. Okay. But we have an outreach program. We have an ambassador program where we go out and do random checks of the containers to look at how well the residents are doing at recycling, and then give them information. And we also have other mailers, and plus on top of that we have websites, and we use social media all the time to try to reduce the contamination within the blue bin. Of course.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thank you for the report, Robert. Since we just had the hearing for one of the haulers earlier this week for Recicla, just so it's clear what the relationship is between this specific RFP and the two providers that you mentioned, can you just explain for the general public how we work with these blue bin processing, how we work with those that would respond to this RFP that would become our blue bin haulers or processing. I'm using the wrong technical language, but you understand what I'm saying.
I totally understand. So the process is, and going back to all the way to the house, I mean, residents separate their materials, they put them in different bins, blue, green, or black. This will be the blue bin. Our collection fleet of 650 drivers that are out there on a daily basis in every area will collect these bins. That material goes into the truck, and then it'll arrive at one of these vendors. Once it arrives at the vendor, they give us a weight ticket, which we're responsible for whatever the tonnage versus dollar amount. We deliver it to their floor, or the tipping floor. From that point, it goes through their process, which goes through optical sorters and hand sorts and all that, and they retrieve the materials, and then they take that material and market it to offset the cost of the processing of the recyclables. So we're basically delivering the materials to them, they process and market it.
And is there, I haven't gone through the RFP, but is there anything built in there that you can elaborate on in terms of past performance of anyone who may be applying or responding to this RFP, just in light of the recent hearing that we had to provide further assurance to our customers and to the public that we're doing everything we can to make our processes as robust as what we committed to, especially this week.
Yes, and along with all of our RFPs, we always have a performance metrics in there for any violations or any legal issues, any lawsuits, any failure to follow state or local guidelines, because those are required by contract and they have to disclose that. So it's part of our evaluation process. Yes.
Okay. And I think those are. I don't have any other questions at the moment, but I look forward to seeing who responds to this RFP.
We do too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you, President. Mr. Potter, question. I know the Recicla program worked really hard on certifying a lot of our recycling centers that we contract out. Are these folks that you're gonna require them to also be under that type of certification?
Yes, that's correct. Anybody who's going to bid on this and is going to be considered an appropriate responder will have to meet the requirements of the facility certification program.
Okay, good. I didn't see that on the RFP. I don't know if maybe it is, but I didn't see it on the evaluation criteria. But will that happen after you've already awarded whoever you awarded, that then we're going to require them to get certified under our terms?
I believe it's in there, and what it's.
Maybe I'm missing it.
Yeah, but it requires that in order for them to bid, that they be within the certification program.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure we always relate those two.
And if it was somebody who hadn't applied yet, they would have to go get that certification to be eligible.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. I don't have any questions. Everyone got their questions answered. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Villegas. As amended.
Mr. President,
Why
I'd
don't
like
you
to
tell us about the amendment for mayor?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment before the board takes official action on this item. Although not required at this time, the board is recommendation number 4 requests the director of Bureau of Sanitation or its designee to return back to the Board of Public Works for authority to award and execute the contract. Since the contracts are beyond 3 years, they do require City Council approval, and since it's also more than 90 days, the Executive Directive number 3 with the Mayor's Office requires the Mayor's approval. So it'd be nice to include, and my suggestion is to amend recommendation number 4 to read subject to Mayor and City Council approval prior to contract execution. Again, although it's not needed at this time, just want to make sure that it's noted so that when it does come back, it's flagged for us so that we can refer it over to the mayor and city council for approval since the contracts are for 15 years, or up to 15 years.
Okay with you, Mr. Potter?
It's fine with me.
Okay, and that motion is as amended, described by our executive officer. The 2 seconds of Garcia and Villegas are as well. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Thank you, sir. Have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend.
Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? As amended? We will send it forthwith as amended. We have the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, December 18th, 2019 to approve. Is there a second to my motion to do so? By Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 5 is a requested contract award for the North Hollywood Sewer Maintenance Yard. This is a rebid. The address is 10801 West Chandler Boulevard. Recommending that the board receive and file transmittal numbers 2, 3, and 4. And then secondly, declare Ford EC Incorporated the apparent second low bidder that became the first low bidder after the local business preference was applied to be the lowest responsive responsible bidder and award Ford EC a contract for the project for $11,573,300. And finally, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Mr. Drucker on number 5.
Good morning, Commissioners. Neil Drucker, Bureau of Engineering. As President James indicated, the Bureau of Engineering is recommending to award the North Hollywood Sewer Maintenance Yard project to Ford EC in the amount of $11,573,300. As President James further indicated, the Ford EC was the apparent second lowest bidder. However, as they are a local business enterprise, an LBE, they get a 8%, basically a 8% local business enterprise adjustment to their bid. So the $11 million bid, if you look on page 4, the chart at the top of page 4, you will see how we calculated that 8% bid preference. So although the bid amount for Metro Builders, the low bidder, was $11,372,888, they are not a local business preference, so they got no reduction in their bid amount. So their bid amount remains at that $11.37 million amount for purposes of evaluating the bid. Ford EC, as I said, received an 8% preference, so their $11,573,000 bid was reduced to $10,647,436 for bid evaluation only, and I'll explain that in a minute. Therefore, they became the actual low bidder, and that's why the Bureau of Engineering is recommending award to them. And what I mean by their apparent bid amount, or the bid amount that we look at, the actual award amount, as President James indicated, will still be $11.573 million. However, when we evaluate their bid for determining who the lowest base bid is, we use that preferenced amount, or the $10.5 million. So that is why we're recommending award to them. A couple other things to mention. The overall project, let's talk about the project a little bit. The project will demolish the existing 10,000 square foot building and about 30,000 square feet of parking lot, and construct a brand new maintenance facility of approximately 8,500 square feet plus a parking lot. We will be including shade structures that have solar canopies. We are LEED compliant and actually working towards net zero on this project. So I think environmentally it's a great project, a sustainable building. We're looking towards the future in terms of electric vehicles and having adequate electric vehicle charging stations for not only the vehicles that are city vehicles, but people parking at the facility and the general public using the facility as well. So I think that's a really good addition to the project. I did want to mention that Ford EC has had or made a yeoman's effort and done a really strong MBE DBB compliance. In fact, they've achieved pretty much all of our recommended levels, and as far as overall subcontractor inclusion, they've added, I think, almost 60% of their project construction value is going to subcontractors, which we feel very good about. And unless there's any questions, we recommend approval and ask that it be sent forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. We did not receive a speaker card from Metro, correct?
That is correct, none.
And Mr. Drucker, Metro Builders has worked with us. They have a number of projects, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Both of these bidders have worked on many city projects over the years.
Right, I'm familiar with both. I just wanted to ensure that, and 40C did not, I'm sorry, Metro Builders did not indicate a desire to submit a protest, correct?
No, they did not. We sent copies of the board report to both Ford and Metro about a week ago, and we have not heard from either one to my knowledge.
Okay. Commissioner Villegas.
President, my questions were aligned something with what you mentioned. Just wanted to put for the record our local business advantage that you mentioned, and that's in the report. It was already included as well in the solicitation.
That's correct. Yes, this was indicated as a local business preference compliant project.
All right, so the playing field is fair.
That is correct.
In the event we hear from Metro, but you said you have not heard.
We have not heard, but yes, in the event we do, or they do file a protest at any point, we believe that it was fair and equitable to all parties.
Okay. And then just for the budget, a little over $1 million or 11.5, and then the proposed scope of work that you have for Ford BC. Do they anticipate that this is a hypothetical question? I mean, we can't anticipate any kind of problems in the future, but we see a lot of change orders, and I'm just wondering, is this budget going to be enough?
That's always the million-dollar question. No, we anticipate at this time that between the actual construction budget and the available contingency, we have adequate funding. That being said, when we get out to construction, there's always potentials for unforeseens. We try and do our best in terms of trying to determine the site conditions, the potential unforeseens that we might hit on any given project. We do surveys, we do geotechnical investigations, we look at what's out there, we look at the similar types of buildings and the issues that we have with similar types of buildings. We do a detailed constructability review both internally and through our construction management division, as well as sometimes we actually send out the projects to experts to try and have them also look at the project and find out and do what we call a risk analysis and see what unforeseens might be out there. I always do my best at this stage to bring to you a project that we believe that we can construct for the available funds. Unfortunately, sometimes I do have to come back in the future and ask for additional funds. I hope on this project not to have to do that then.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you. Question, who will be housed in this building once it's all done and completed? I tried reading it on the board report, but I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, the whole project is actually for the Bureau of Sanitation, and the Bureau of Sanitation may be able to give you more details on the specific type of work that goes on there, but these are all, it's basically sewer maintenance yards, so they maintain all the sewers in that area of the valley, both the major sewers and smaller sewers, maintenance holes, cleanouts, things like that. So the folks who work there for the most part would be either administrative office staff or they'd be actual field personnel who are using the various trucks that go out and clean out the sewer maintenance holes and things like that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Caloza?
I don't have any questions for Neil, but I just wanted to note for the record that this project does have a project labor agreement. I don't know if you mentioned that earlier, but
No, I did not. Actually, yes, you are correct. This project does have a project labor agreement. It exceeds the value or the minimum value for requirement to have a project labor agreement, so we will have a project labor agreement. And also, just to let you know, we're also doing partnering as well on this project.
Great, thank you. And then can you just explain briefly for the record why this was a rebid? That might just be one thing I'd like for you to explain on the record.
The original bids all came in very high, and so we went back and did some value engineering, modified the project a little. We spent some time talking to the original bidders to find out what issues they had with the project, made some redesign, and therefore we had to go out, or went out to bid again. And I'm happy to say the bids came in within the available budget this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for those clarifying points as well, Commissioner Caloza. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Thank you, Mr. Drucker.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We will send number 5 forthwith. That takes us to agenda item number 6, engineering and contract administration for Council District 8. Contract award Vermont Stormwater Capture and Green Street Phase 2 project, recommending that the board waive the date irregularity on the signature sheet and affidavit, pages 1 through 4 of the bid submitted by Clark Contracting Corporation, and accept Clark's bid proposal. Secondly, declare Clark the first low bidder to be the lowest responsive responsible bidder, and award Clark a contract for the project for $1,931,628. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney, Mr. Johnson, on number 6. And there's a representative from Clark here if we have any questions regarding their bid. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Chris Johnson with Bureau of Engineering, Proposition O Clean Water Division. The overall Vermont Avenue Stormwater Capture Project implements water quality improvements to comply with the Biona Creek bacteria, metals, and toxics total maximum daily loads, or TMDL, requirements. The project for construction was divided into 2 phases to meet grant deadline requirements. The first phase was completed this past July. Phase 2, which we are recommending award, is located in 3 locations along Vermont Avenue between Gage and Florence and west of Hoover Street in Council District 8. The elements include California-friendly landscaping to be installed along sidewalks and medians for stormwater and urban runoff treatment, improved walking and mobility improvements featuring a bus stop shelter, and a reduction in local flooding problems that occurs during storm events. 4 bids were received on September 18th. Clark Contracting is the low bid at $1,931,628. This is 17.93% above the city engineer's estimate of $1,638,000. On review, staff believes the bid is reasonable, and Clark has otherwise met all other bidding requirements. Clark Contracting is a small business enterprise and a certified local business enterprise. They are pledging participation levels of 3.73% minority business, 2.27% women business enterprise, 0.93% small business enterprise, 0.85% emerging business enterprise, and 0 disabled veteran business enterprise. They do meet the mandatory subcontractor participation level with a pledge of 26.05%. Total construction funding, including contingency, is $2,124,791 to be funded by Proposition O. The Metropolitan Transit Authority will reimburse up to $1,145,400 through a grant. Date of completion is anticipated to be February of 2021. With that, I can take any questions.
Thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
Just a quick question. Thank you, President. I always get really happy when I see Propo projects come through.
Stand.
This is a long one coming. Just a quick question. Just wondering, how will the monitoring be done after the project is in place? How will we be measuring results?
Yeah, this will be done by Bureau of Sanitation, LA Sanitation and Environment, and they will, I don't believe it's covered by any of their current optimization projects, so it'll probably be a request moving forward to oversight for Proposition O.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President James. I think we talked about this during the briefing, but since the contractor is here today from Clark, and you can also answer this question, but they may be better equipped to, but can they talk a little bit about what outreach they did to meet some of these numbers that they are pledging for the business inclusion program? I know this bid is, almost 18% higher than our estimate. All the bids came in high. That said, I think, from my perspective, I would have liked to see higher pledges, given how high the bids came in. I know, for instance, for SVE, it's about 24 percentage points lower than what we anticipated. It's also 3 points below for the DVBE. So I don't know if you can speak to that, Chris. I think you shared to me a little bit about the briefing, or if the contractor can
Okay,
talk about that.
for my part, I'll say the pledges are that they're still allowed to achieve better in the course of construction, but Mr. Bob Clark and Mark Cuneo of Clark Contracting agreed to be present here just to speak to those questions you might have. So I'd like to step aside for them.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mark Cuneo. I'm the estimator that estimated this project for Clark Contracting. When we bid these types of projects, we certainly look at the scope of work of the project and try and identify work that's available for minority businesses, small businesses, et cetera. Then we use the city's business inclusion program system. In this case, we outreached to 325 small businesses. I know that was one of the concerns. This project is one that has a limited scope of work. It's a storm drain project, grading street project. We actually only received 7 quotes from small businesses at bid time, and of those we actually used 2. They were the lowest value, or best value, or lowest bid. The other ones we actually either rejected or self-performed that work based on their value. So I hope that answers part of the question.
It does. Thank you for that explanation. To Chris's point, I know there's still room here for you guys to improve your numbers. Is there any plans for that from Clark's end? Or is there any additional outreach that you're looking to do to improve some of the numbers?
Well, we, by contract, are limited to what we can actually do. We have to contract with subs for the value that we have in the contract. If there's additional work or extra work that comes up, we will certainly look for any opportunities to utilize businesses that fall into those categories.
And I know more Propo projects will come through, the city. Is this a general trend that you guys are seeing in terms of finding it hard to find subcontractors for this specific kind of storm drain work?
Not so much that it's hard to find subcontractors, but in this case there was a limited amount of work that was available to subcontractors because we will self-perform a lot of the storm drain work, the demo work. Really the only work that was available for subs was some of the concrete structure work that we don't do, as well as the paving work. And some of those trades, there are a variety of contractors. The concrete work, we tend to get small businesses that participate. The paving work, there's more big paving contractors than there are small paving contractors. So mainly it's because of the scope of the project that we got what we got.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. And I just would like to note here, too, that Clark itself, you're actually certified as both an SVE and an LBE, but it doesn't count towards your numbers, unfortunately.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closat. My only question is for Mr. Jordan. Regarding the waiver of the irregularity related to the signature and affidavit page, Ted, that's something that your office would approve our authority to do that, correct?
Yes, and we concur in the Bureau's recommendation here in the report to waive that irregularity.
Okay. Thank you. Then that said, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6 as is, seconded by Commissioners Villegas and Caloza. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, as well, the representatives from Clark for coming. Any issue sending number 6 forthwith? We will send number 6 forthwith. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk of the voting items?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we have a couple of oral reports. Let's go ahead and take care of our status update on major upcoming street improvement projects. Now that the holidays are over, Mr. Becerra, welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is Antonio Becerra Jr. with Streets LA, Superintendent with Streets LA. In order to keep the public informed of the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as the delays to commuters, Streets LA would like to provide you with an update on all major upcoming street improvement projects. The following projects are scheduled as follows. In the Metro resurfacing region, tomorrow, Saturday, January 11th, 2020, and Sunday, January 12th, 2020, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Figueroa Street from York Boulevard to Avenue 55 in CD1, Historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council. Funding for this project is the Pavement Preservation Program, also known as PPP. Next weekend, Saturday, January 18th, 2020, and Sunday, January 19th, 2020, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave San Fernando Road from Delay Drive to Cazador Street in CD1, Glassell Park Neighborhood Council. Funding for this project is also the PPP. In the Valley resurfacing region, tomorrow, Saturday, January 11th, 2020, and Sunday, January 12th, 2020, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will pave Woodman Boulevard from Nordoff Street to Roscoe Boulevard in CD6, Arleta Neighborhood Council. Funding for this project is PPP once again. Next weekend, Saturday, January 18th, 2020, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will pave Burbank Boulevard from Van Nuys Boulevard to Kester in CD4, Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. Funding for this project is PPP. And finally, Sunday, January 19th, 2020, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will pave San Fernando Road east from Wheatland Avenue to Claybeck Avenue in CD2, Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council. Funding for this project is PPP. The press releases were broadcasted, work notifications have been issued, and Streets LA has coordinated with Council District's office to assist with the outreach to stakeholders. We have also coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra. Any questions? Successfully done under the watchful eye of your general manager sitting to your right.
And happy holidays and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Have a nice weekend. Thank you, Mr. Haj Khalil. Agenda item number 10 is that oral report will be received. Our agenda item number 10, our status of construction of public buildings and open space program from the Bureau of Engineering. Dr. Williams, do you want to speak now or after? Dr. Tom Williams. Okay.
Parks. Buildings, you got enough problems. But the parks are vital to a lot of us. And we're quite concerned regarding the status of Taylor Yard Parks and eventually Piggyback Yard, the LA River Parks. We're quite concerned regarding parks with contaminated soil beneath them. And Piggyback is going to be an absolute nightmare. So whenever they're doing parks, please make sure that the relevant neighborhood councils have been informed as to what is underneath of them. I personally have pictures of UP Railroad excavating 6 to 10 feet of black soil and replacing it without any structure on top with 6 feet of nice brown soil. The old railroad yards, which may become part of future parks, are highly contaminated. One of the first coal gasification plants is in Piggyback Yard. The round table and round house for all locomotive maintenance was in Piggyback Yard. So we're quite concerned regarding any new parks for our people and possible contamination beneath those parks. So make sure, I know all the land acquisition issues because we had the same thing with the Union Station. So I'll make sure that they are at least known as to what the contamination is, unlike what we had with Taylor Yard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Ms. Weintraub, this is one of my favorite oral reports that happens on a regular basis.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners and Bureau Bureau leaders. So I'm here to give you my twice-a-year update. And first, just my org chart, which I have shown you before, but in particular, would like to introduce Stephen Fierce, who is here with us in the audience. If he would stand up. He is our new principal architect. He started January 6th. 30-plus years experience.
He was in my office the next day, I think.
Right.
That new, okay.
So he's been here a whole week. I asked him if he thinks he has a handle on everything. I'm still trying to get a handle on everything, but we're thrilled to have him.
Welcome, sir.
He will be continuing to come and slowly taking over responsibilities from Neil, who's also very thrilled to have him. Just to give you an update, though, this is my org chart of people that I regularly work with on a day-to-day basis. Of the Bureau, Public Buildings and Open Space represents about 16% of the Bureau staff. So right now we have 146 projects totaling $1.2 billion in the phases of pre-design, design, bid and award, and construction. We have 32 projects in post-construction totaling approximately $200 million. And this excludes the Convention Center project, which I have also been working on, the Taylor Yard G2 project, which is a master plan in process, and the LA Street Civic Building, which you also hear about separately, I know. A lot of the work that Public Buildings and Open Space is doing now includes our Bridge Home program, and the one that I've shown here on this slide is in construction on Hope Street, serving Council District 9. It's a facility with a tensile structure that you see there in the images. It will serve about 100 people. It's at 45% complete construction. The tensile structure is for sleeping. We also have on these sites modular trailers for administration, hygiene, and laundry. There will be an outdoor pet area, covered outdoor dining area, and a storage area outside for the belongings of the residents. We've worked closely on many of these with General Services, and this project General Services is constructing. They're also using some subcontracting for grading, foundations, utility trenching, decking and ramps, underground utilities, and for the erection of the tensile membrane structure. LASA, who we work closely with, has identified Volunteers of America of Los Angeles as a service provider in partnership with St. John's Well Child and Family Center. The site is actually on LA County-owned property, and we're anticipating completion of this project in February of 2020. This next project, which was completed and opened, is the Bridge Home site on Imperial Street. It's actually outside the city of LA, but it serves Council District 15. I heard in the news yesterday that presidential candidate Vice President Biden was there yesterday visiting the site. The final construction cost for this facility was about $6 million. Again, we worked with GSD on construction. It's a total of also 100 beds, 30 women and 70 men, which is pretty typically the split on these bridge housing facilities. The provider is the Salvation Army, and the move-in was about mid-February, and the length of operation for this facility is about 3 years. So you see on the left the pet area, and on the right you see the hard-lid outdoor dining area, which has heaters in it, and to the right of that is the hygiene trailers, which include restrooms and shower facilities and also laundry facilities.
I was able to tour that facility at on the grand opening days. So.
Yeah, it was a big event. And then also I know Councilmember Buscaino held a Christmas celebration there, which got good news coverage.
Right.
So this gives you a sense of what these look like on the inside. The tensile structures are fully insulated, and then they're wired. There is at the top of the tent, you'll see that there's daylighting, so during the day you get a good amount of sunlight coming in. The sleeping areas, it's usually these side-by-side arrangements where each of the residents gets a sleeping area and storage facility next to another person. The facilities are completely heated and air-conditioned, and they're also fully sprinklered.
We are here at the Veterans Affairs campus and the newest Bridge Home project that will house 100 homeless veterans in the city of LA. The Bureau of Engineering's role as construction
So that was a piece that was posted on our Instagram account, and so that's a pitch to ask the commissioners to sign up for our Instagram feed, because we're doing fairly good short
You
clips.
get Instagram first. I'm embarrassed that I don't
Oh
have
my
that
gosh.
one.
But I show you that this is another facility that's in construction. It's at the VA campus in West LA. It's about 70% complete. Again, we're working with GSD and vendors. It's 2 tents with 100 beds. The configuration of the site required us to split it up to 2 tents, and there are 2 trailers. It's about $4.7 million total cost. We anticipate being completed in early February. Because it's on federal land with the VA, that added another level of complexity to it. At this point, BOE has completed the facilities at El Pueblo, at Schrader, at St. Andrews, at Imperial, which I showed you earlier, a permanent facility in Hollywood on Gardner for women, and we're at about 355 beds. We will be at 1,500 beds July 1 of 2020. That is our goal. So one of the other major programs that I work on, and I know Shirley Lau, who runs the bridge program, is here to report to you at different points, but we have 2 bridges, pedestrian bridges over the LA River, opening very soon. The first is this bridge, which is called the Glendale Hyperion Phase 1, or the name we tend to use, the Red Car Pedestrian Bridge, because this bridge is put on the foundations of the old red car trolley line. The grand opening date is January 25th at 11:30 a.m. The construction award amount was about $3.8 million, and we'll close construction at about $3.9 million. It's a truss that was prefabricated off-site and then lifted into place with cranes. The erection of the truss structure happened fairly quickly. When we went to investigate the old pier foundations for the red car, we found that we expected them to be solid and to be sound. We found they were hollow, so we had to rebuild them. It is actually a mitigation measure, because when we actually start doing work on the Glendale Hyperion Bridge, we will have to close some sidewalks. And we worked closely with Caltrans, this is largely federal money, to suggest that we put this up as a mitigation measure, but allow us to keep it. It's another safe pedestrian crossing. And then the next slide shows you just a long view. It's a pretty long span across the river. The next bridge that will open just a few days later is this project, which is the North Atwater Bridge in Council Districts 13 and 4. It's approximately a $16 million project. This bridge was started by River LA, and then it came into the city for us to manage construction. It's been long anticipated. I'm sure former council member Tom LaBonge will be there, because he talked about this bridge the entire time he was with the city. It's both an equestrian and bicycle and pedestrian bridge. Previously, the horses had to go down an earthen ramp into the river, then back up an earthen ramp on the other side, and then a tunnel that crosses under the 5 freeway into Griffith Park. And it was dangerous. There were horses that slipped. So this gives a safe passage for horses. We also had a major donation from Morton Lacretz and the Lacretz Foundation of about $4 million to make this bridge possible. And if you're driving the 5 freeway, you can see it. It's a cable-stayed bridge with that tall mast you can see from the freeway. And this is the night view. It's a pretty beautiful structure, iconic structure. The next project is...
I thought they just left a piece of equipment there that they were going to pick up.
That piece of equipment won't be there.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's stunning.
It is stunning, yeah. The next project is First over Glendale, which is a widening of about 2.5 feet on each side of the bridge. And really, it's largely a seismic retrofit to bring this bridge up to the required seismic sufficiency. It is a historic bridge, and so a lot of the work happened in the foundations to bring it up to current code. And then with the historic structures, we had to replicate, in order to widen it, the historic railing, and you see on the left what it now looks like from the outside. And then on the right, you see that on the inside of the bridge, there's a crash barrier that was installed to make it safer.
Those old bridges are iconic in our city.
Yes, and quite beautiful. And then we have this project, which is a project that's probably been in the works, Neil would say, I don't know, 20 years? Yeah. We're nearing construction completion. On the top left, you'll see the design plan. It's a fairly small triangular site. It's in Council District 5. The Robertson Recreation Center required us to demolish an old recreation center, renovate an existing child care center, add a parking lot, play areas, basketball courts, and we actually also installed a rainwater cistern under the parking area. The gym is a standard 12,000 square foot gym. The design was carefully modulated, as you see on the right, the construction photo, to bring in daylight so that during the day, as we target environmental goals on all of these projects, during the day you won't have to turn on the light. The construction completion is anticipated in about end of April, early May of this year. So, and Ford EC actually was the contractor for this project. So we're very excited to see this come to fruition. And then another project, we continue to do pool projects, pool reconstructions all over the city. This is the Algin Sutton Pool in Council District 8. It's nearing construction completion. It's a whole new pool and pool deck, new pool equipment. That large shade structure on the left was actually installed almost in one piece with a crane. Unfortunately, we faced some challenges. There was a fire in the old bathhouse, so we had to largely reconstruct that. We anticipate this being done within a month or so, and we will hold a grand opening. The current construction cost that we're at is about $9.8 million. And then I know I showed this to you last time, but I just show it to you again just to remind you that our funding sources are varied and multiple, and we cobbled together the funds with the help from the mayor's office, the council offices, and the CAO's office to execute these projects. And then these projects each go through a whole different levels of reporting and oversight. And again, I list just 25 of the oversight agencies that these projects have to go through for review and approval. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Weintraub, thank you. It's always nice to get a reminder of what's going on with these projects and to see the great work you all are working on and you all are doing. We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. President James, I have more just of a comment. I'm really happy with your presentation. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you put on here, you listed all the funding sources. And I just wanted to commend your staff. That's a lot of time that multiple, I'm sure multiple divisions or bureaus also help to secure funding for these projects. And it's good to see that they're just obviously coupled, with multiple funding pots. So good work.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President. Deborah, this is amazing. Very nice projects, and they're really well done, and they look very beautiful. So far as my count, BOE has already finished 6 bridge homes. Is that my total? I tried keeping up with when you started naming them.
Yeah. So actually, we have completed 5. We're in construction on another 5, and we have another 8 to complete by July 1.
Wow, that's a lot of work. So congratulations to you and your team and everybody that works on the bridge homes, because that's a lot of work to do. So thank you for that. And just by saying that equals to 1,500 folks in a bed, right? Very nice. Thank you for that. Other thing, also I want to thank you for letting us know about the grand openings. It's nice when we all get to know about them, because it's all of everybody's efforts, and so I just want to commend you on that as well. Thank you for letting us know, and those that we can go and so forth. So thank you. And then lastly, this is a very beautiful picture. The one with the North Water Bridge with the lights?
Yes.
Did Bureau of Street Lighting do those lights?
Bureau of Street Lighting they reviewed the lighting, but it was installed by the contractor.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily Bureau of Street Lighting putting in the lights?
No.
Okay, well, they look amazing. I just have to say that. And so I didn't know if it was or if it wasn't. I was always going to give some props to Bureau of
If you
Street
didn't
Lighting.
ask the question, you could run around and say that they did.
I should have, huh? We did.
Great, that's great.
Well, you know what? We approved. There you
you
go.
go.
We approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Colosa.
Thanks, President James. I just want to echo what my colleagues have already said and to really thank you, Deborah, Gary, and Neil, and the entire team at BOE for working so hard. I know 2019 was a interesting year for everybody, but you guys worked really hard to, again, go above and beyond and take on new duties that aren't traditionally in your portfolio, like the Bridge Home project that Commissioner Garcia mentioned. So thank you for delivering these projects on behalf of the city and for making us proud. And welcome to the new principal architect. You have big shoes to fill, and we know you're going to deliver on all these projects on budget and hopefully early for some of them, like we know BOE does. So thank you, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. I will say the Bridge Home program was new. It was a new area of work for us. It was challenging. I think we've wrapped our hands around it. The question now will be how many more, if there are more, that get done.
There will be, and I just want to really just echo Commissioner Closa on that point, Deborah. All of the Department of Public Works has stepped up in unique ways regarding the homelessness challenge, and for the work that you all do, you're front and center as the project manager on the solution. And it's such an important part of this mayor's and the city's, really, and the region's priorities. So, and your team has been stellar. So thank Gary, thank Alan, everyone on your team. We know that it has been a challenging road, but that happens sometimes in government often. And you all have really stepped up and shown the region why you are such a national leader that you are. So thank you all.
Thank you. I will say that the staff who work in the field on these projects and doing the designs all feel very honored to be able to help.
Well, it's historic work, so thank you. That will mean that the oral report is received. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned with the exception of we'll do a brief management meeting for some cards. Deborah, I think we'll see you for a few minutes as well. Okay, thank you. Everyone, have a nice weekend.